The Day Night China podcast has been running for nearly 3 years, and it wouldn't have been possible without Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, let me give you a rundown. Basically, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Here's how it works.
So Anchor lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer. So no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today.
Then you can distribute your podcast to the most popular listening platforms, including Spotify, with a single tap. Anchor is also the only place you can publish video podcasts to Spotify.
With Anchor, creators can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions.
And best of all, Anchor is totally free.
Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
This podcast contains strong language and adult themes.
Date Night China explores life and love for better relationships in China. Every week, we hear from different guests and dive into dating, relationships, mental health, and how both expats and Chinese people connect with each other here in China.
Join the Date Night community through our podcast and events in Beijing and Shanghai, and catch up on all the latest stories on our official WeChat account.
Find our account on WeChat by searching Date Night China, no spaces, no capital letters. You can also join our WeChat group by adding Rachel, me, on WeChat. You can search Rachel Weiss 22, RACHEL WEISS 22.
And now for this week's episode.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Date Night China. Today we have Raz Galor joining us, who is an Israeli expat and co-founder of the new media company YChina, which highlights expat life in China. You might have seen their short videos on Douyin and their street interviews on YouTube, Bilibili. They're everywhere. They're all over the internet. You'll see them all over the place. And it's all about where expats chat about Chinese culture and the latest trends they've experienced or witnessed in the country. In fact, Nathan and I have been in some of their videos on the street.
We have, you know, feel like a little street celebrity when I'm doing it. So Raz is a key public figure in China's media world, but today we're going to hear more about a different side of him that you might not know about, his romantic life. And joining us today is Raz and his fiance Tal to discuss their relationship in China, how they balance their time and priorities, and their upcoming wedding.
So thank you guys for joining us today. Welcome, Raz and Tal. How are you feeling?
It's the first time I've ever done it, so stressed a bit.
I'm super excited. I'm here with the love of my life on Date Night China with the people I always love bumping into in the streets. We created some really viral videos together, actually. You guys are loved by the audience that I have on my platform. So being on your
People
podcast.
People have been sending me screenshots. They're like, I saw you in this video. And I was like, oh, wow. But that's the thing. So many people watch your channels. They know about you. Like people in the China sphere, like they have seen your videos or they've seen you on the streets in Nali Patio in San Latun. You're grabbing people, flagging them down, getting
people
interviews.
Running away from me sometimes. Like, oh, him again.
Well, actually, we've got there's a weird, well, not weird, but it's funny how small the China circle is. When I first started working in China, one of the first things I did a Facebook Live, and it was at the Peking University.
Yes.
And Raz was a special guest, and I was at my company then for about a week or so, and everybody was super excited that they got you to do this live, to walk around. And because I've just started, they didn't give me any responsibility, so I just went along just to watch. It was
right.
great.
I think I remember that. We walked around campus and we did this live.
Yeah. It was a very nice day, you know what I mean? Because I got paid just to watch other people work.
Walk around, look at things.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
and 4 years later, you're on the podcast.
Wow.
Here you go. It's meant
Destiny.
to be. It's meant to be. Wow. That's an exciting story. I didn't connect that. We actually met then. Wow, that's true.
Yeah.
Serendipity.
We make a lot of videos, not much podcasts, because it's something that I'm so curious about. But we're more short videos, we do live streams, and we're posting it everywhere. And yeah, so it's exciting. And also having Tal here, Tal is my fiance.
Yeah,
And I'm
so
really
you guys
happy.
recently got engaged, which is so
Yes,
exciting.
we
And
did.
that's the thing, I think people a lot of the time know you and this like your videos and your channels, but maybe don't know so much about your personal life and Tal and what your guys' relationship is like. So
Yeah.
let's jump into that and hear first about yourselves, where you're from, how long you've been in China, and just what you're doing here now. How about Tal, you start.
Yeah, so actually we're both Israelis. I've been in China for over 4 years now. I started my journey in Wuhan. I did my BA there, and now I'm working for the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, very cool. And you're doing events and media for the Chamber of Commerce, right?
Yes, events
Okay.
and media.
Very exciting. And then Raz, I mean, we all know a little bit about you. Is there anything else we didn't get about your intro?
No, Tal takes care of the serious side of the family. She's the smart, she knows technology, she does the business side, hosts the events with all these investors and entrepreneurs, and I'm the guy in the street with a microphone begging for people to give me a minute of their time. So that's me. There's not much, time-wise, my story goes way back 14 years ago when I was 13 years old. That's when my whole family moved to Hong Kong. Then I completed my high school there in international school where I learned English. So originally I spoke Hebrew, then I learned English in Hong Kong, and then I studied and learned Chinese when I moved to Beijing. And I finished my undergrad in Peking University, studying international relations, when I started my new media business, which is what I'm doing now, YChina. And until today, it's already been 6 years on that since I started, and I'm still running this business, gained a decent amount of, followers and great content,
and
also
crazy amount.
and also got some good feedback from the markets. Like got some investments. Like went through a really interesting expat entrepreneurship journey so far here in China, but most importantly, I think I met Tal 2 years ago, and now we're engaged, and she's became and will be forever the center of my life now. So being with her on a podcast for me is like, I'm also nervous a bit because we have our lives quite private. We don't vlog our journey, and we're not saying too much because we each have our own lives, but then we have so much to share privately as well. So we'd like to use that podcast to maybe give some insights.
Yeah.
Of
It's a hard balance, though. I think when you're so media focused, right, and you've got to put yourself on show, and you've got to be out there, but you are entitled to a part of your life, however much you choose to be private, right?
Yeah, I think because I am so-called in China a public figure, at least mentally, that's what kind of this whole new media attention brought me to be. Having Tal in my life gave me this space that I'm like, I can just be myself, private, and have my home without feeling that pressure and stress that new media and social media can bring to somebody.
Be switched on all the time.
I can just switch off.
Yeah.
And that gave me so much that I just knew that she's the one. And until today, she really gives me that peace that I need with all this attention and social media and pressure and the online virtual world that sometimes can be so fake and detached from us.
Yeah, 100%. And it's exciting. We're going to hear more about that and how you kind of spend your personal time and balancing that like public figure versus your private time. But before that, let's back up before you met and before you were dating. Can you tell us what were your dating experiences in China like before meeting each other and dating each other?
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's shorter than Raz, for sure.
Woo!
But I started my journey back actually in Israel. When I was in Israel, I went to an international school, and we had some Chinese people. And my first boyfriend was in that high school was actually Chinese. He wasn't part of the high school. He was actually in the university.
Oh, an older Chinese man.
What?
He was a bit elder, but I was in high school and he was in university, and we did a lot of like programs together because we had a lot of Chinese in my high school. So I met him through one of the programs, and then we start dating. We dated for about 7 months when I was in high school. And
In high school, though, that's
high
like,
school
that's
time.
forever.
That's like,
That's a long
these
time.
guys are like
that's
tight.
very long. That's very, very long.
But then, do you want to tell them what happened at the end?
Yes, it was a very funny story. I found out that I am his girlfriend in Israel, but he also has a girlfriend back in China.
No!
And the funny thing is, so my school, we studied a lot in the library, in the university, and one of my best friends, he came to study for the exams, and then he's like, oh, I saw your boyfriend with another Chinese girl holding hands, and I was like, texting my boyfriend, like, hey, what's up? And he's like, my other girlfriend came for a visit.
That's how he told you?
That's how he told me. And that's how we broke up.
Oh
we
my
never
God.
spoke.
Great,
never
I'm
spoke
happy you
after
broke up
that.
that day. So, oh wait, that's a cool idea. Can I meet her?
That's wild, though.
That was very
And were you
interesting.
heartbroken, or were you like, okay, let's move on?
I wasn't heartbroken because I knew he's not the one, you know. But he was handsome, and I was in high school, and I was like, oh, Chinese boyfriend, you know.
There are not many Chinese in Israel, by the way.
Yes, it's
So
very
it's-
I
rare.
was curious. Yeah,
It's
did
cool
you
to-
have many Chinese?
It's
there?
very rare. Like you won't walk in the street and see any Asian, not even like just Chinese, any Asian. So like my school is very unique. That's the only school in Israel that have Chinese people or Asians in general. So it was very rare, and I was very excited about it. And none of my friends ever spoke to any Asian or Chinese in their life. So when I was like coming back home to my friends, they're like, meet my boyfriend. I was very excited.
Wow. So then, what happened after that? And when you finally moved to China?
I moved to China also because I was roommate with some Chinese girls and I loved them. So I decided to come here. And then I went to university in Wuhan. And I really liked it. And then I met this guy in my dorms. He's like Singaporean, Malaysian, Chinese. So he can speak Chinese and everything, but he was part of the international students. So we got together and we were dating for almost 1 year. Yeah.
Wow.
1 year.
Wow. And was that a very different experience?
I think both of the relationship were very different, and I never felt like I am exactly who I am, because being Jewish there's so much to it, especially as a woman, and in general I come from a very Orthodox family. So holidays, everything is deeply important to me, and not being able to share it with my other one is like, it never felt like it's me until the end. And I always knew that I cannot marry these people because Judaism is very important to me, and if I have kids or something, they will not be Jewish if the other partner is not Jewish. So I know it's very bad, but it always bothered me. And when I finally met Raz and we both have this deep connection to China, I was somehow very relieved. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, like, you know, faith is such a big part of, you know, people's lives, and you know, we've you know, I don't think we've explored it too much on the podcast, right? Maybe in the articles on the WeChat platform, but yeah, no, I don't think that sounds bad at all.
Yeah, I think it's good that you kind of knew these are my values and this is so important to me. I'm looking for somebody who can match that
Yeah,
together.
but sometimes people are like, the love is all matters. It does matters a lot, but also family and building family and thinking 10 years ahead is very important.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think, you know, it's the values, you know, for like relationships, as you date different people, it's values are important, because that is the key to longevity. You know, you can say, you're right, you know, like, oh yeah, love is the key and love conquers all, but, you know, if you've not got fundamentals, or, you know, some couples will go years without talking about religion or schooling or the way that they want to have and raise children, and you know, and that's because they think, oh, love is so important.
Totally.
But then when they get to those key issues, it's like, oh, I never realized that you thought that way. Oh shit.
Yeah,
What
like
do we do
most
now?
people
And it's
bury
something too late
it.
at this point.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, it's deep in the relationship. Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So how about for you, Raz? Did you have similar experiences?
With me, I have similar experiences with the fact that as somebody living abroad, I put so much of my time to understand other cultures, especially Chinese culture. Not only, actually, I did learn English and I learned about other cultures, specifically British or American, because of my friends, and I visited a lot, and I put a lot of myself into other people's and their traditions and their ideas and their language. So when I was dating a few people back in the days, which I'll mention some stories soon, there was a very difficult time where I put most of the time to understand them, but I could see zero feedback. They would not understand or remember my festivals, my traditions, language, and it became a gap in the long term. I remember with every person I dated where it just couldn't go on too far when it became the faith or just coming to understand me. And I think Tal just clicked so well in this way, which faith really put a big part in it. There's many other factors, but I think that really made it so easy. We could understand each other, language, childhood, internal jokes, families just really clicked as well. Things that for us, I think, were really important. And of course I have some funny dating experiences from the past. If you guys want me to share, I could share as well.
Yeah.
Share them.
Share
yes.
away.
I mean, I am not necessarily an example of somebody who dated too many people for short term. Every relationship I had was at least half a year long, and I had around 4 long ones. Average was a year. So I had somebody for 2.5 years, on and off, somebody for a year, somebody for half a year. All I can say is that when I was young and I had my first kind of serious relationship, I wanted to be I stopped the kind of first time, the first virginity, because I thought, unless you're the one, I shouldn't do it with you. So, and she was a year older than me back in high school, and we were just holding hands and kissing kind of a little bit, and I stopped because I thought she wasn't the one, and all my friends were like, "What are you doing? Why are you not like?" She's like, "No, I want to wait for the one to break my virginity." Long story short, I ended up losing my virginity in a end of high school trip in Thailand in a one-night stand. So from one extreme to the other, that's my first dating experience. A nice girl that was super into me, she was like, "I'm down for it," and I said no, and I ended up we broke up because she couldn't deal with me being so childish about it, and then I ended up under social pressure, I call it. I blame my friends from high school for the social pressure. Like, "Raz, you're such a pussy." I'm like, "You know what? I'm going to show you I can do it, man." And it was a drunk night. It wasn't a lady boy, all I can tell you. It was it was a girl that also finished high school. And everyone traveled to Hong Kong for a big kind of 1 week party thing, what we do in Koh Samui. Full moon party, Koh Phangan. I don't know if you guys know about that.
I've been to which
Koh Phi Phi Island, Koh Phangan.
Yeah, Koh Phangan, I think.
Yeah, it's Koh Phangan, man. That's where things happen.
Yeah, talent. Yeah.
And that story is embarrassing. I remember when we came in to do it after we're drunk, we both realized we don't have condoms. So I had to leave the room naked and call my friend in the villa next door to find condoms for me. And he was shocked, and he ended up getting me condoms. And then halfway through the thing, we both don't know what we're doing. We had my other drunk friend burst in the room. God, yeah, that's my very early dating experiences.
You know what? I've heard worse. I've heard much worse. So that's not bad.
That's not bad.
At least you use safety.
Yes, you were thinking about
safety first.
safety. That's really good.
Because we were drunk,
It was a total disaster, and I think, but again, for me, it was it changed my conception of dating then. Then I was like, you know what? Just find one by one someone right for you. You don't have to hold in back your sexuality or the concept of sex, you know what I mean? So, and then later on I dated some others, some really good relationships. It wasn't right. I think similar to Tal, we had like a good connection early on. That girls, one from Mexico, Japan, China, for example, these three, and they all have different types of personalities and culture. They were all great, but at the same time, it ended up being not a good fit. Luckily, with all three of them, we nicely broke up without any drama.
That's a nice thing, because that doesn't always happen.
And I think, and China really helped us find a common ground when we met, but it also became our point of breaking up. Some had to go back.
Did you feel like a lot of them, like China was just kind of a transient stopping, or like a stopover, while you were like, I see more of a future here? Or was it something else?
For the first one that I dated in Beijing, yes, it was for her just a half a year thing. So I felt tricked. I don't know if it happened to other people dating in China, but sometimes, especially back before Corona days, people really came here for half a year.
Oh, yeah.
And great people, but you have this like summer love. You feel it's all perfect. Then when you hit reality, like I can't stay here, I gotta go back, and then just things fall apart. And that really was that was the theme of dating in China back in 2012 to 2016, those 4 or 5 years when I was kind of in college, starting my way in Beijing, 18-year-old to 22. And later on, I got some more serious relationships, which were, in terms of like the people were more mature in China. They're like, I am here to stay. And that's where I met some classmates that stayed, and then dated also a Chinese girl for a year. But we were mostly long distance, because we dated for 3 months, and then she went to London.
Oh wow!
For the rest of the 9 months until we broke up. So that was also kind of that instability of place, of vision, of direction. And that is basically it. What's my past experience? With all respect to Tal, and it's okay me sharing all these. She probably knows all these stories.
I know all.
One specific relationship of mine was very public. With my Chinese ex. A super public relationship. She was a vlogger in the world of fashion, makeup, and lifestyle, and she showed a lot of our lives on her channel. She was more vlogging our life as a relationship, and I was more doing my street interview stuff still.
Yeah.
And a lot of the audience I realized what it's like to have like a dating with a virtual audience. They kind of follow you everywhere, and they kind of get disappointing when you break up as well. It was stressful actually, and I told myself that I will never let anyone else experience that kind of stress of an audience on a relationship, because I could see what kind of toll it gives on a relationship, and it wasn't great, I think, for both sides. So I also promised Tal that if we do things publicly, it will be, we will find
most
the
people
right way.
didn't know I was existed until the proposal video came out. So it was very funny, Like no one knew.
Whoa.
Like Raz has a girlfriend?
Now
Wait,
he's
Raz is
engaged?
getting married?
Wow. I mean, I think that's a really great thing, though, and a great lesson you learned, that you're like, I want to keep my private life more private, because people do put lots of pressure on, and you have all these eyes watching and commenting and saying things, whether positive or negative, and that's just a lot more than, like you were mentioning earlier, having your private personal life for your own security and safety and away from everything.
Yeah. I could even say something extreme, that I quit social media. I don't use a lot social media, especially not even Bilibili, Weibo, Douyin. I don't go on these platforms. I maybe check them once in a while to some trending stuff for the work. I don't use them, and I don't look at comments. I don't look at this small talk, because of what I've been through 3 years ago with this public relationship. What kind of psychological toll it brings to people. Social media could be just really bring the worst out of people. And you can have 1,000 positive comments and one bad one, and you would just care about that one bad one.
Yeah.
So might as well just don't look at all. And I think that really helped me also with Tal these few years to just
I'm pretty bad with social media.
Not at all.
Oh, so you're a match made in
But
heaven
that's
then.
really healthy, you know?
Like,
That's okay.
You're too modest. You're saying-
I'm like, the only thing that I really check is like my Instagram. But even then, I don't care. Like, I really don't care what you write, what you don't write. I don't care. And I don't check it. And like, I'm not very good at like making video. I'm very shy person. So like, I'm not super extrovert like Raz. So I don't go a lot on social media. And I'm not good at being on it. So we are very opposite in this way.
It's kind of a perfect balance, though, right? And especially to not care about social media, especially now in 2022 where it's everywhere, TikTok, Douyin, you have all these things coming at you all the time and like this pressure to constantly be sharing about yourself publicly. But I think it's so good and very healthy to say, I don't really care. Like, I'm going to live my life and enjoy it offline with my friends and people who matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of dating really shifted my understanding of that. I think it was a big factor.
Yeah.
Raz was like complaining the first few months, like not complaining, but he's like, you never take pictures. Like, what is going? I always have to take pictures for you.
We went for a full-on week in Qinghai, which is a beautiful province that has beautiful landscapes and gorgeous people. And I think that Tal's phone has at least maybe 3 photos of food, mainly. Nothing else.
So
No
the
selfies.
priorities. You prioritize the priorities, right?
Food.
Okay.
No,
Food
me and
and
her. No
animals.
selfies.
Okay.
And I'm like, for me, it's like weird because I'm used to everyone around me like all about recording and even like stories on Instagram or getting a bit of selfies and sending to. Tal's like, nah, it's not really her thing. And I'm the one. I feel like I'm the one who's pushing her to take a
And
photo.
then you open his phone and he's like, have like 150 pictures of me.
But you see-
I don't even know.
But you see, this is kind of similar actually because like Rachel documents everything.
Yeah, we're
so
like
I don't,
the flip reverse. I'm always like, hey, Nathan, pose, take a video.
You know, it's kind of weird. Sometimes we'll be out and people will recognize Rachel through her social medias, and then they'll say, "Oh, they know me as well." And I'm like, "Have we met?" It's like, "No, we saw you on Rachel's Instagram earlier." And I'm like, "Oh, right, hello."
People like to comment a lot, especially because Nathan's British and I'm American. They love to say like, "Oh, what's he saying?" And they love to like educate me about British things. But
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I do follow Rachel's Instagram stories. It's great. It's a lot of information. You update it a lot. I like that.
Try to do stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nathan.
But I used to be a bit more expressive, and the last 2 years, I just barely post myself. My Instagram, last post on Instagram was like, I just barely post. Once a year maybe. I don't do stories much. Something kind of shut off in me for the better of me in this relationship and psychologically, mentally, mental health. You know, I felt it really helped me with mental health.
I think you don't have the amount of time they used to have. Because when you go back home, it's like, I get upset if you're too much on the phone. So you have to be with me and we have to have our time. And then when
away.
you're at work, you're at work. So you don't have that extra time.
I used to be on my phone at least 2 hours before sleeping every night. And now I just put it away every night or like pretty much. So yeah, that's interesting. Just getting to this topic.
Yeah, I think I want to ask you guys a bit more about that in a second, just about the time and balancing, because that's a lot on, you know, you want to make sure you have quality time for your relationship. But first, how did you guys meet? We haven't heard this story yet.
That is a wonderful story, and it's actually connected back to the videos we do.
Even backwards, it connects to my first year in college
Right.
when I had another boyfriend.
Ooh.
Oh, wait, you were dating that guy when you were talking to me? First
Yeah.
time? Oh.
So what happened?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Do you
Woohoo.
want to tell the story or should I?
You can say the first time we met online. I think we met
Okay,
online
yeah.
first, and then it's been a year and a half, and then we met
Yeah.
offline. That's the first one we met was through WeChat. A friend connected us. You can tell that story.
Yeah, I was looking for an internship. It was my first year, and I was like going around and looking for internship, and then someone gave me Raz contact, and he's like, you should reach out to him and have something, you know. And then
An
I was
internship
like,
specifically. Nothing like it's not like, hey, have something with him.
an
Something.
internship, but not with him, not with YChina. I wanted to work with his dad because this is what I'm like studying, you know, economics. And I was like, hi, this person gave me a contact. Can I have an internship in your dad's place? Like, can you help me ask him? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, sure. And then I think a day later, I already found another internship in another company. And I was
So
like, hi, I'm
bye-bye.
sorry. I already got an
Exactly.
internship.
Is I'm about to move forward and help her get in contact and be like, yeah, I can set you up. I see a message next morning. Oh, sorry, I got another internship. I'll think about it next time with you.
No, I was
And
like, maybe next year, you know?
oh God, she, people want her. She's high demand. I missed out, missed out on that talent. And she has a very like business-like profile picture on WeChat that looks like she's like already in the business for like years, but she's like only 20 years old back then. She looks like she's like this businesswoman who was like takes over the world, and I'm like, yo. And then so I was impressed, but at the same time I knew I was like she's not in Beijing, she's in Wuhan. So I'm like, well, not what we can do. So we just didn't talk for the next year or so, and then we reconnected.
Yes, we reconnected.
So how did that happen?
That story, want me to tell that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so we reconnected, long story short, through a common friend of ours who was my film guy. He was my cameraman in Israel back in 2020 when COVID hit, and I was stuck in Israel, couldn't come back to China, and I was trying to figure out what to film in Israel, because I would still need to make videos for my audience from Israel. And I had this, it was actually a Chinese guy in Israel who was helping me make videos. And he had an idea. He said, oh, I have a classmate that I know that would fit for your videos. And then he shows me a picture, and I'm like, isn't that girl from like, that girl, like, that like said that she has other internships? And then he was like, you know what? You guys, I think, should get to know each other. And I was like, you know what? Sure. So he said, I asked her, I was like, hey, we have a common friend. Would you want to be on my video? That was my like,
That was your pitch.
That was my pitch. I wasn't like, how you doing? I was like, by the way, I got a video idea. I want to be on my video. It's about like Israelis living in China, blah, blah, blah. Smooth, man. And then next thing she's like, sure, but I'm in Vietnam. And I was like, what? She was stuck in Vietnam during COVID, couldn't come back to Israel. And I was like, ouch. You're in Vietnam, fine, I'll wait for you. And then we met, and then a month later, she did end up getting a flight back to Israel. And we booked a time to meet for the video, specifically only, 11 a.m., we said, on a beach in Israel.
I just want to say, it was summertime. Take a note, it's 40 degrees outside.
Okay,
Like,
I see where this is going.
40 degrees outside, and I'm like...
So you weren't
yeah.
wearing business attire?
No.
It was not about the clothes. You'll know in a moment.
So we book 11, and then when I'm on my way to meet her, I'm actually really just want to make a video. I didn't think anything else. I had no idea what it will be like to meet her. I just wanted to make a video and interview her about life in China. And then on the way, I realized I forgot the microphone. So I ended up being late for 40-something minutes. When she's waiting under the burning sun for me and getting sunburned.
My scalp was insanely red.
Oh my god.
And my whole body, it was like...
So I met a tomato.
Did you think about leaving? Were you kind of like, oh my gosh,
This
10
guy.
more minutes and I'm gone?
So like, I'm like this person who's like always like at least 10 minutes early to everything. And if I don't go out on time, I get like stress about it, you know? So I have to leave on time and I have to be there 10 minutes early. So I was there 10 minutes early and I was sitting there for an hour and I was like thinking like, is this for real? What is happening?
Who does he think he is?
But I'm very shy, so he came over and I was still smiling, you know? I was
Yeah.
still very happy
She
to
gave
see
me
him.
a smile, and I gotta say, it might sound cheesy, but something was just, my heart was like beating so fast. And when I met her, I was like, oh my God, she's so damn beautiful. And she's so like modest, and she's so like, her smile was like, I'd never seen a smile like this. So my mind switched from I'm making an interview, then I'm trying to get her. I knew that at that point, like whatever I was gonna film is not important. I'm just gonna try get to see her the next day and ask her out.
So in the interview, you're kind of like, okay, so tell me about China, but oh, by the way, are you single? So what's going on?
Pretty much. I kind of questioned her like in the interview. I was like, oh, so let's do the interview. And we were like, so how long you been in China? Well, do you have somebody in China? Are you? And then I kind of realized she's single. I'm like, good. Then I realized that she's going to be in Israel for the next few months. I was like, okay, that's good. Then I realized she lives in a really cool central district in Israel, which is so close to where I am. So I was like, yeah. Like everything is checked. And I was like, okay. And the next thing, I asked her, so what is your favorite food? Like after the interview. And she was like, oh, I love sushi. I'm like, oh, great. I'll take you for sushi tomorrow. That's where I was like, I'm not giving any space for her to think about it. You remember that?
Yeah, I was so shocked. I thought it was a whole joke, And I was like coming back home and I was like, Mom, I met this really weird guy.
She didn't have the like E.G. and John scene. It wasn't love at first sight for her.
This guy.
He's interesting, but at the same time, he was flirty and a bit
Late.
dummy at the same time.
What was what?
Like
Dummy? That's the first time I hear that.
You were flirting, but you were not fully serious. So it was very confusing. Like I thought you were gay, and then you were like hitting me with this flirt, and then you were also acting very weird.
Why did you think I liked men? What?
Because you were wearing insanely tight clothes. And very short, and like the vibe was not there. And you were going in the street, and the video was about a song, and you were like, la, 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 la.
I was singing a song to people in the streets.
I did not think that this guy is into me.
Yeah,
I thought like, what's going on?
This guy?
He's flirting, but he's weird, and he's screaming in the street. Like, what
And
are
I
you
asked
doing?
her, what's your favorite Chinese artist? And she said like Jackson Wang, like a Chinese guy. And I was like, wow, I like him too. I think she kind of got off the wrong vibes.
We need you to write like a flirting tactic, because this is like your own special style, like just throwing different vibes out,
Right.
but like you
Totally.
still nailed it.
Like doing all the wrong things you shouldn't do, but nailing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like there's a meme, isn't there? Like like getting to the equation. Like the maths is wrong, but the answer
It still added up.
but you got the answer right.
It reminds me of my high school exam. For some reason, I couldn't show the process of the math question, but I got it right.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, how'd you do that? Oh, I guessed it. I'm like, great.
Yeah. Wow. So that lesson that you learned from the exam, you took into life.
Life is all about, the process is about, getting things wrong, and the prize is guessing it right.
Yes.
So yeah,
Wise.
That's a good lesson.
It's funny how quick things turned.
Yeah, it was
how things
so
moved since then.
quick.
Like, yes, the impression was weird, and I think it was odd, but since that day, there's not one day that we were in the same country that we didn't see each other, and there was not one day since that we didn't sleep in the same place. Only if I go on a business trip or we're in different countries for a while.
Yeah, we basically moved in a week later.
We moved together to the same
Wait,
apartment.
that was
really?
quite- that-
But so
One
what
weekend.
changed your mind,
It was so
Hal,
quick.
from that first day of like, what is this guy doing, to, oh wow, I like him?
So, and let me say that. The next day we went on the date, and that date was actually very confusing as well. He sat with me, we talked for like 3 hours or something like that, but then he kissed me. And I was like,
Wait,
this
what?
is quick.
Wait.
This is very quick. And I came back home very confused, like, Mom, am I being too easy?
Like, were you worried because you did kiss? Like,
I thought like something is off. Probably this guy is gonna like want something and then never talk to me. But then like we met every single day for a week, and at the end of this week, I met like a total different Raz, and we somehow got this really deep, insane connection. So when we moved in, I already felt like to be honest, after that week, the moment we moved in, I already felt like we are married. Even though we are not engaged, we're not nothing, I already felt like this is like for life. It's cheesy, but it was like very comfortable. Like you feel very comfortable with the other person.
I don't know. Yeah, it's odd. I didn't expect it in any of my dating expectation, no matter where, China, Israel. But it just sometimes when it clicks, and you let your feelings just push you to the most extreme forms of expression, and then also things like moving in together and then moving back to China together a few months later, doing the quarantine and like suffering through some of that very difficult uncertainties, but doing it together, and then later going back to Israel again, and then going back to China again. We just something just despite all the uncertainties, we just build like a block, like a stability block of our relationship. It's such an interesting story. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I can't even explain it how and why.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, how was it coming back to China then? And I guess you'd had YChina by then, and you'd been building this platform. And for you, was it different seeing kind of his side of that once you came back to China? Or had you already kind of seen him in media mode, doing the video interviews and such and like, I guess how was it for you being his partner and kind of seeing this mode of media business work?
Yeah, the media personality of Raz.
I mean, for that matter, I did see him, but the whole, like, I was student back then. I didn't have a job yet. I was living with my mom, living off my mom. Sorry, Mom. And I moved to China, did the quarantine, and I moved in with Raz. We were 3 or 4 months into the relationship. For the first months, I felt a bit like, I'm not sure what's going on. There's a lot that I'm like trusting in Raz, because like I'm a student. I don't have much, but I'm here for him in another city that I've never been in. And it was a lot of trust, and he was very busy. So I was a lot alone. Yeah.
There was a lot of challenging times.
It was very challenging.
I'm really like thankful for Tal, for you, baby, for kind of taking the turn and dealing with that bullshit. That's not just me. It's like the whole situation was crazy. Like just moving into Beijing and going through the quarantine and living in the new under Corona life in China, and then later you're being with not many friends here because there's not many people, and me just being away. And every time I come back, giving me that smile and hug and love that you would expect and want from your partner without any questions. I think that Tal is the real reason. I don't think people would accept this form of lifestyle so much, and she really did.
There was a lot of lifestyle that I had to because like in Israel, there's a lot of things that we don't do that Raz do here because of job. Like he needs to go out, he needs to be social, he needs to drink, he needs to come back late at night.
Culture,
yes, and it's like something that you don't have back home. So I was there was a lot to adjust that I've never seen before, and there's a lot that I was very shocked at first, which I think by first it was rough, but I think now it got better from both sides.
Yeah, I worked on it, right?
He worked on it.
More about my time management, my work-life balance, which was totally off. It was like 95% work and 5% life, no joke. Then it was the drinking issue. Went drinking quite a lot with people to to socialize, because in here I think in China drinking is very common, it's great, but just like it's kind of became a default.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a default for anyone,
So
anywhere, and it's just a lot of beers, alcohol, and suddenly it goes quite late. Like for me, I was embarrassed to leave before 3 a.m. sometimes, some like hangouts with foreigners or Chinese, and I think after understanding Tal's perspective as a partner and our partner, I just started just having giving myself curfews and limits, and I got calculated what's the purpose every time going out and doing this. Can I put some kind of limits or weekly basis, and then slowly I think I try to come and change myself, and I hope that by this year things have become a bit better, right?
Yeah.
Did you find that people also respected when you put kind of boundaries out? I guess that's a hard thing I felt. I think we've all felt that pressure with when you're going out with your bosses and people you're trying to make deals with, and you want to
those Chinese
hang
business
with them.
meetings
You want
can
to show
be
them
wild.
Yeah.
I feel like even friends don't understand it and don't totally sometimes respect your your boundaries, especially when it comes to drinking, because they don't understand it.
That can be true.
We were in PH. We were in a club with a bunch of our friends. We wanted to leave early. How tough it was.
they'll guilt you. They're like, why are you leaving?
Why are you
Peer
not
pressure.
Foreigners and
drinking?
Chinese together. It wasn't only a Chinese. It was a bunch of
Yes,
expats and
foreigners
Chinese
can
together.
be just as bad.
And
Yes.
If not worse.
And they're like,
different cultures. They were.
Tao, don't you let him drink? Like, it's just a bit. Just
and then make
let
you
him have a
feel
drink.
like the bad guy, trying
and
to put
then-
boundaries around it.
Exactly. And I'm like for me, it's like I come from very different lifestyle. I don't need alcohol to have fun all the time. And I'm like, Raz knows it, but I'm aiming for like 5 kids. And
Woohoo! I mean, you say
need
that.
to
You
be
saying it.
healthy
It's your choice,
for
baby.
that.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm here to deliver. you, if you want it, I'll be there. But like, you say it. I didn't tell you that number. I mean, I gotta, yeah.
Yeah. So in what other ways have you guys had to kind of also work on, like, I mean, quality time, balancing that? I think we find that's difficult as well. We do Date Night China together, but we have jobs, and then you have a million other things that you have to do in between life that sometimes we get so busy as well, where we're together, but we're not spending date night time, and making quality time. Have you guys had to struggle with the balance of making date nights together, or making sure you're spending that time out
We've done a lot of things to work on it. We've had some crazy challenges. I didn't even mention that Tal, my little baby, went to play a rugby match in Wuhan last year and completely torn her ACL.
Rugby's intense. Oh
ACL
my gosh.
torn, knee done.
crazy.
Couldn't walk for months and went through some intense physiotherapy and doctors, and that's all through when I was in the most intense, busy months of traveling, and she got injured in Wuhan when I was in Beijing, so I wasn't even next to her, and I couldn't even take her to the hospital. And it's like there's like these challenges of like, you're not there for me when I'm down, and we had to kind of come through it. I'm thinking until today we're trying to figure it out. We didn't figure out the way. My way to kind of show that I'm always there if I'm not there is no matter where I am, every morning I make sure she get her coffee in the morning. Her favorite coffee, I would get it from like the furthest away coffee shop that she loves, that I have to chansong the coffee, call the chansong, which is like the delivery man, to deliver from the coffee shop and then bring it to Tal. And I have to give the codes both to the coffee shop and to Tal in the morning. Every morning.
You do that every day?
Every single day, even if I'm away.
Wow.
And then every night, make sure she has her dinner, her fruits. Like, even if she can do it herself, I want to just be the one, like, are you hungry? Are you okay? What do you need? I just deliver for her. I give her when she needs to buy something. I just want to be 24/7 her like assistant, just to make sure she knows that I know that I'm away, but like I'm always thinking about her. I'm trying to do this. Does it help? I hope it does, but it's still not the same as putting quality physical time together. But it's the only thing I can do when I'm just like on my filming and my like going around China.
Yeah.
I think
it's
like,
not easy.
It's not easy, but we do have this very like, we became in the last year like kind of best friends that we don't necessarily always, it's good to go outside, but sometimes just like watching our TV show at night in bed with some snacks.
Yep.
It's like you couldn't ask better.
We love that too. Yeah. And it's just that quality time.
One thing that helped us, I think, and helped me is that I started watching Israeli TV shows again after 10 years. Like, I know it sounds like okay, that's normal. For me, for someone who's been away for 14 years from my home country, I didn't go to the military in Israel, which is like a must. But because I left early, I wasn't recruited. And I felt always like this outsider. I felt pushed away from my culture. And my friends saw me as a kind of a weirdo. Still, they do still think I'm the China guy. And I kind of felt like by going back with Tal to that place of our Hebrew shows, God, it brought so much happiness and calmness to my life and our lives together. And I think if we're just watching like Netflix all day or like some English show, you'll just feel like we're like an international couple. But something about that cultural bond, language bond with this, like some old shows that we watched again or some new ones coming out.
Gossip
and we're watching reality TV shows. We're like gossiping at we have this like Married at First Sight Israel version.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Wild. We're just like laughing at them and say, oh, look at them. And like in all the Hebrew kind of style stuff, we see other Israeli couples. I think it kind of made us like always expect to like bond over something we both so passionate about. And yeah, and like, Thursday they're gonna have the new episode, and now we're watching Fauda, which is a great like show, also an Israeli show. Every time we're like, when is coming out again? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Wednesday? These things kind of connect points again, like when you're detached from some other projects.
People think that like having that everyday life, like how to say it, when you're so used to something, like repeating it, and this is not good because it's gonna become boring, and you have to like have this lifestyle that you always go out and you have do new things. But actually, like, I think I encourage to have this normal like routine. Routine is good. Like, yeah, we should go outside sometimes, and we do go for like a nice dinner and like movies, and like sometimes drinking a glass of wine with some like food. It's nice, but also routine is also nice. You need to embrace routine, because routine means you came to this stage in relationship when you really understand each other, and there's no more fights, there's no more dramas. No dramas is like calm life,
Remember the Friday routine? Something that big change for my life. That helped build confidence in trusting me. In China, you work Monday to Friday, and obviously more sometimes. And Fridays it can be really busy. You finish at 8 p.m. sometimes. Sometimes my company, Fridays could be the busiest day because we ended up having these weekly meetings until like late 8 p.m. In Israel, Friday is a holy day, having a dinner with family. We call it Kiddush. People end up the day at 12 usually, or don't even work on Friday, and they prepare all day for that evening dinner. For Tal, something very important was to make sure Friday I finish work early. And for me, it was very hard to communicate that with the team, because they were like, what? That's where everyone is like reviewing the week, and everyone is going to submit some like reports. What? To get them to move it and make sure I can finish work and filming every Friday before 5, so we can prepare the evening, we can cook something, or we can go somewhere for like the synagogue here in Beijing. When I made that sacrifice, which actually it's a small sacrifice, but for me, for some reason, it was something. It was hard for me to get.
Well, it's a big mental shift. I mean, cause it's
and working within the Chinese structure and culture. Yeah, it's hard.
The culture is conflicted, it was hard until today for my team to really understand it, because there's so much urgent stuff going on. Putting your phone away, and that Friday night, that holiness of Friday. Getting it back, all the way back in China. We're in China, we're not in Israel. Like in Israel, Friday is totally understood. Anyone knows Friday, don't talk to me. Family time, dinner, it's like everyone's automatically in their schedule. Like they know Friday night is Friday night. Family getting together, In China, it's not. And we made that happen. Still trying to make it happen, although because I'm away sometimes on Fridays. And that really, that sacrifice, small sacrifices, I think keep us going strong forward.
Yeah. And but like every couple, I mean, like I can speak from experience, we get it right sometimes and we get it wrong sometimes, and we focus on work too much on some weeks, some months, and we realize like, wow, we're not really, we're together and we're doing the podcast. I mean, like we're recording tonight, we recorded last night. We do a lot sometimes, and it can just get blurred that like, like our work lives and our personal lives, and yeah, it's a difficult thing to balance, and you'll never ever get it 100%. You can always strive for that,
yeah,
right?
And we're both learning and growing and changing as well with ourselves, like, and you're going through different phases of life, and then we're learning about each other through these new phases of life, and COVID, like lots is shifting around us. So it gets difficult sometimes. But I think it's really special that you guys have had these like commonalities with your, with your home and your heritage, your values, like we were talking about before, but then also building in these daily routines. Because I think for, relationships, both of those things are really important, is to have those bigger values, and then the routines. We love nights in when we just watch TV and you just get to relax together, and it's not like pressure's on and doing things.
So as we come to the end of the episode, we've saved I wouldn't say the most exciting, but I'm excited to hear the story because I've actually not heard it. I've heard a little bit of it, but how did you propose, and what is that story?
Well, a China-made foreign expat couple proposal, I call it. I think we're one of these examples of so far, and I'm sure for the rest of our lives, we really, because of also our China connection, came together, and the proposal was very unique. I think proposing to somebody isn't, in what we went through specifically, it wasn't so planned. We didn't talk about it so much, and Tal is super young. I think for her it wasn't a rush thing. Also me, I wasn't being oh my god, I gotta get married before a certain age. I think we never put that bar into it. Our families weren't super pushy, but I felt like it was the right timing, so I decided to surprise her. So the proposal was a total surprise, and to totally trick Tal into doing something and then getting proposed. And the surprise had 2 layers. First, it was the actual proposal, and second was getting the entire, both family side together and trick her into we're going to, after the proposal, going to a restaurant, and then they're going to surprise again. So a double surprise proposal, I call it.
Heart attack.
She's not built for that. Now, the actual proposal was basically in the same place that I met her for the first time for an interview.
Wow.
And this.
And did you? And were you 40 minutes late?
Exactly.
Sorry, an hour.
An hour, and I was fully burned.
Gotta get her. Gotta get it red all over, and then we're ready.
The red lighting. Yeah.
Yeah,
This was
sure.
the first time he was there before me.
I was a few hours before. First time in my life that I was early. I had to make up for that first time.
God.
The trick was that I told her that there's a video I'm doing about fashion, and I needed to interview different people with different fashion styles to show the different, the Chinese fashion, Israeli, American, etc., British. And I told her, look, wear something you're really fashionable that you love, and represent the Israeli fashion style. So because she told me she wanted to wear and be beautiful on the proposal. She said that's one of her dreams. And then I was like, well,
that's a big thing for girls though. I've told Nathan, I was like,
yeah, make sure it's not like a surprise.
Don't do it on a hike where I'm looking awful
Exactly.
and sweaty.
I know,
You want to feel ready and
you want to
pretty.
have this moment pictured for the rest of your life.
Yes.
My best friend just proposed on the top of a
yeah, it was
mountain
really
in
fun.
Scotland,
Wow.
and he thought it's amazing. And then his girl was like, "Look, it took us 4 hours to climb the mountain. I was dying." And then he proposed. God damn it, man! And so she really came prepared, and I gave her a script. I gave her a questions. She thought she knew this was thing. And the greatest thing about this is that she thought I went to interview people in the street 2 hours before. I was like, meet me at 3 p.m. because I want to interview others first. So she thought I'm working, right? She thinks there's a camera guy, and she's interviewing. And she came in dressed, oh God, so
I want to
gorgeous,
say,
so
I want to
beautiful.
add to that. He also made sure that my mom knows. If my mom, no one can fool me, only my mom can. If it was only him, I would somehow find out. But he made sure my mom knows, and my mom is getting me ready.
Mom's in on it. So
My
you're
mom
like,
is the greatest in leading me to stuff without me knowing.
So her mom made her dress up beautiful, and then she took her and said, "Oh, good luck on the video." And I'm there with my camera guy, and I'm dressed with my. You chose.
He
it.
was dressed up really pretty, yeah.
Aw.
And it's it never happened in his videos before,
Yeah, there's a big contrast with the first time we met when I looked like she said I looked.
I was even saying it during the interview. You look so nice today.
And then we went through an interview. Really, everything was normal. What's your fashion style? What's your trends? How do you pick your outfits every day? A full-on 5-minute real serious question. Tao was answering very seriously, and then I was like, okay, last question, and it's the most important question I ever asked anyone in my life. She was like, what? And then the moment I said that, I went on one knee, took the ring from the back of my pocket, and Tal was completely shocked, and I said a few words in Hebrew. I don't remember what I said. I was so nervous, and
I don't
Tal
even
just
know.
kept saying, "What? Really? Are you serious? What?
Are you
Really?
sure?
Are you sure?" She kept it's wait, is
And
it
you're
real?
stop interrupting! I'm trying to be romantic!
Yeah, I'm trying to make it romantic. Stop saying really, it's real. She was losing it, and then
The funny thing is, like, when I finally said yes, or I said, of course, and then there was a lady behind us, and she was like, congrats! And I was like, who are you?
It was like on the beach. And then, so that proposal came to be a big surprise for Tal. Tal said yes, luckily, because it was a big surprise. And then I was so happy, but then that was not the end. I told her, the first thing she asked me is like, does my mom know? And I'm like, oh, wait, I forgot to tell your mom.
No.
And she was like, what? I'm like, I gotta call her. I'm like, no, you know what? Let's get to the restaurant that I arranged for us. And then we call her then. We're going into the hotel restaurant right next to the beach. It's like a hotel. It's like, actually, it's a Hilton hotel. An ad for Hilton. And then we go in.
There we go.
We get a new sponsor for Date Night
Yeah,
China.
Hilton Hotels,
Hilton.
guys. Place to propose. Expensive as fuck. Okay. Sorry for that. It's really expensive. It is. In Israel, Hilton is like
Yeah, no, it's
different
nice.
level.
It's very nice.
It's nice. And then we go to the restaurant, and suddenly music comes up, like our favorite song, and the entire family of both sides just surprise us. And Tal gets a second shock. She's like,
I was crying like no one ever seen me crying that hard. I was crying so hard. Everything was like,
mom was there. Yeah, and that whole thing was a really beautiful thing. Like it was just a perfect day. It's just a perfect day. I can't explain it. Like couldn't be more perfect.
Everyone was there.
Yeah, so proposals are very romantic. It's just the day just becomes bright, and all your worries, you forget about it. You're just, your future is ahead. Love is at the peak of its peaks, and and that's how the day finished. We did film the process because it was obviously recorded for our fake video. The whole video was fake, obviously, and we did end up posting it both on YouTube and in China. And surprisingly, I didn't expect it. It just became really viral. People really liked the video. Aww. They were like moved by how romantic it was, and for the first time ever, I felt people just generally gave like a congrats and you guys are super cute without trying to get into your personal lives. They were like, that's a cute, beautiful, love, honest story of a couple that got proposed. A girl that got proposed to in a place she met her guy for the first time. Nothing to do with China, nothing to do with anything. We're just a couple talking about their own love without any other topic, and people just liked it. And I felt that was like the first time I was like, you know what? There is hope in this world. People can appreciate just pure emotions without feeling like, they need to get in under your skin.
Yeah.
And since then, it got popular, but it didn't mean that we're gonna go wild in our couple life right now.
Now you're vloggers
and now
together.
we're like putting our like face mask every day together, and we're going vlogging in every city. It was nice to know that's what it was. I think it's at least 15 million views.
Wow.
So much on the
That's
street.
insane.
It was
That's so
insane.
nice.
It became quite of
What a sweet moment. You've actually got it captured though. Like that's the really special thing is you have that memory now of like that surprise, that pure emotion and just the special time.
My makeup smudge everywhere. Me crying insanely.
And then that's what was really nice, I think. But again, no matter how popular this specific video was, it wasn't that important. Even if one person viewed it, it was not really the factor. What made us happy is, when you get to a point where you propose, it's like, this is it. And now we're going forward with our wedding on October 28th in Israel. Wow. You guys are more than welcome to come if you are.
You're inviting the Date Night China audience, right?
When
you said
Date Night China hosts. Hello there. Still an expensive wedding. No, I'm kidding. I'm a cheap mofo. No, it's not that at all. If you guys are in Israel, you guys can enjoy a very unique wedding. But if you're not, we're planning to do something in China for our friends in China when we come back.
Amazing.
So that could be something even practical for our friends in China without getting all the flights back and forth.
Yes.
And that could be
flights.
So we want to celebrate with our friends and our families, of course. And that is how our proposal story.
wow,
beautiful.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been a great episode.
Yeah.
And to say
Thank you,
that
Rachel.
we've done the street interviews and we've known you for years, but to actually talk about this is a brand new side of you.
It is.
And to meet you, Tal, for the
Yes,
first time. It's
yeah.
been lovely.
She's the
Thank
real
you
highlight
both
of this
for coming
convo.
on.
I know,
Thank you
we're
for
so
inviting.
excited. Thank you so much. Is there anything you'd want to leave our Date Night China listeners with about love, dating, relationships, advice?
When it is,
Listen
it
to your
is.
heart. The end of the song. No, I don't think I'm the one to give a dating advice. Just because I feel we just go through so many ups and downs in relationships, and there is something greater than our common sense that can solve issues or conflicts. A greater power. I think love is a greater power, unexplainable in any form of word or expression. And when it's it. When
Yeah.
you know it, you know
Flow
it.
with life, you know.
So that's how we experienced it. But now we're going into the married life, which has more challenges, more things that we have to come through, more obstacles. We don't want to be the ones that make the divorce rate upwards. We want to prove that there's a way to live together forever. Because we hear all this negativity. People have negative about love and marriage recently.
Yeah.
Negative about the concept of like divorce and marriage, and they're like pessimistic. And they're giving me numbers from different countries and the divorce rate, and I'm like, you know what? That's the same thing as social media for me. Like the noise can get people to make decisions not based on their intuition, but based on fears. And love should be not based on some things you think could be, but more on your gut feeling. And as a guy that
Every
loves,
issue can be solved,
yeah, anything can be solved
Yeah.
as long as you want it to be solved.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys find your loved one. I hope you tell the loved one that you already have that you love her or him every single day. Remind them, because it's nice to hear it. It's
Indeed.
nice to hear.
Indeed.
Well, thank you ever so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you both.
Thank
and
you.
thanks for listening to this week's episode of Date Night China.
Bye.
Bye.
再见，朋友们。